You're in your 40s or 50s and starting to think seriously about retirement. Maybe you've spent decades saving, investing, and planning. But here's a hard truth. Many people make one critical mistake, holding on to the wrong types of assets. And that mistake can slowly erode your dream of financial freedom. Remember, retirement isn't the finish line. It's a transition. And in this new chapter, preserving capital, minimizing risk, and generating stable income become the three pillars of financial security. Below are 5 common asset types you should seriously consider selling before retirement, not only to optimize taxes, but also to avoid unnecessary burdens that could weigh down your golden years. 1. High growth stocks with no dividends. When you're in your 40s or 50s, retirement is no longer a distant concept. It becomes a serious question. Will my current investments be enough to sustain me for the next 20 to 30 years? One of the biggest mistakes people make, often without realizing, is holding on to assets that don't generate income, especially high growth stocks that pay no dividends. During the wealth building phase, growth stocks, think tech giants, startups, and companies in emerging industries, are attractive for their explosive potential. Popular names like Amazon, Tesla, or AI firms have brought enormous returns for investors. But most growth stocks don't pay dividends. That means they offer no steady income. The only way to profit is through price appreciation, something highly unpredictable in a volatile market. As you near retirement, your financial goals must shift. It's no longer about maximizing growth. It's about preserving what you've earned and creating stability. The sharp ups and downs of growth stocks, once seen as opportunities, become major risks. Markets move in cycles. What skyrockets today can plummet tomorrow due to political unrest, economic downturns, or monetary policy shifts. If you're still holding high-growth stocks when you need cash, you might be forced to sell during a crash, and that could wreck your entire financial plan. Instead, cashing out of growth stocks while you're still in the green is a smart strategy. It allows you to lock in profits at the right time and protect your capital from potential steep declines. By reallocating from risky assets into income-generating ones like dividend ETFs, REITs, real estate investment trusts, or government bonds, you set yourself up for consistent monthly or quarterly cash flow. That's exactly what retirement requires: reliable income that doesn't force you to tap into your principal during a downturn. This transition can also bring tax advantages, especially if done gradually before retirement while you're still earning and have more flexibility in timing. Avoiding forced sales during market crashes gives you better control over your tax liabilities and long-term wealth protection. We've seen sharp market corrections before, like in 2022 when inflation surged and interest rates spiked, dragging tech stock prices down dramatically. Investors who relied on those assets for retirement income suffered painful losses. Meanwhile, those who shifted into dividend-paying stocks or bonds continued receiving steady cash flow, allowing them to live without selling at a loss. Here's the truth. Financial freedom doesn't come from the number in your brokerage account. It comes from owning the right types of assets. Assets that are stable, lower risk, and create regular income. That's why high growth stocks with no dividends should be considered for sale before entering retirement. It's not just about protecting your capital. It's about peace of mind. It's about knowing you can sustain your lifestyle without being at the mercy of every market swing. Rebalancing your portfolio from growth stocks to income-producing assets isn't giving up. It's aligning your investment strategy with your stage of life. Retirement demands financial security, and that security starts with owning the right assets. So if you're holding high growth stocks with no dividends, it might be time to start selling, gradually but deliberately. It's a crucial step to safeguard everything you've spent a lifetime building. 2. Cash-negative investment real estate. In midlife, preparing for a financially secure future becomes a responsibility you can't ignore. Among the most common pre-retirement assets, investment real estate, especially rental property, is often considered a solid long-term play. But not all real estate creates value over time. If you own property that doesn't generate cash flow, also known as cash-negative real estate, now might be the time to strategically exit. Cash-negative real estate means your operational costs exceed the income it produces. You might own a rental in a bustling neighborhood, but after covering maintenance, property taxes, management fees, insurance, and mortgage interest, you're barely breaking even, or worse, losing money. This scenario is more common than you think, especially with recent interest rate hikes driving up borrowing costs significantly. Holding on to these types of assets into retirement can put growing pressure on your finances. Real estate is far from a passive investment. You have to track occupancy, address repairs, and respond to tenant issues. In retirement, when you crave peace and simplicity, constantly managing property problems can wear you down and reduce your quality of life. Selling underperforming real estate before retirement allows you to lock in gains while the market is still favorable, particularly in post-pandemic surges. It also helps you avoid costly renovations or upgrades that usually come after a long holding period. Major repairs to HVAC systems, roofs, or plumbing can run into the tens of thousands, hardly ideal when you're no longer earning a paycheck. More importantly, selling frees up capital you can reallocate into more passive, retirement-friendly investments. Options like REITs, which pay regular dividends without the hassle of physical property management, are ideal. Dividend ETFs, government bonds, or high-yield savings accounts are also excellent choices for stable, lower-risk income. Selling pre-retirement also allows for tax optimization. If you're offloading a large property, tools like the 1031 exchange can help defer capital gains tax. Or you can strategically time the sale to avoid getting bumped into a higher tax bracket. These tactics work best when you still have flexibility in your income and haven't begun drawing from retirement accounts. In many major cities, real estate markets are cooling. Vacancy rates are rising. Maintenance costs are increasing. Tenants are demanding better service. The pressure is twofold: more effort required, lower returns. In this climate, freeing yourself from inefficient assets becomes a strategic move. Remember, retirement investing is no longer about growing wealth at all costs. It's about capital preservation, optimizing cash flow, and minimizing risk. If a property doesn't help you meet those three goals, no matter how attractive it may seem on the surface, it doesn't belong in your retirement plan. Holding on to unproductive real estate costs you time, effort, and peace of mind, three things that become priceless in retirement. So, if you own cash-negative investment property, it's time to take a hard look at its real performance. Compare its net yearly income to its current market value. If your return is under 2 to 3% and it's demanding too much of your time, that's a clear signal. It's time to sell. Not because real estate is a bad investment, but because it no longer fits your financial phase. In the end, smart investing isn't about owning the most. It's about knowing when to walk away, to protect yourself, to protect your capital, and to enjoy the life you've worked so hard to build. Selling underperforming property might just be the first step toward a retirement that's calmer, more sustainable, and truly free. Act early, because financial freedom waits for no one. 3. Luxury cars, depreciating assets. Luxury cars, yachts, high-powered motorcycles, and other luxury items are often seen as symbols of success at the peak of one's career. Yet financially, these assets don't truly generate profit. On the contrary, they depreciate over time, accompanied by a slew of ongoing expenses such as maintenance, repairs, insurance, taxes, and storage. They are classic examples of depreciating assets. The longer you keep them, the more money you lose. As retirement approaches, holding on to such assets not only strains your finances but also diverts resources that should be focused on longer-term goals. Instead of continually pouring money into maintaining a premium car that's already a few years old, you can sell it early to preserve its best value before it hits the steep depreciation curve, typically after the 5th year of ownership. The greatest advantage of selling depreciating assets early is reducing your fixed monthly costs. Insurance premiums for luxury cars are notoriously high, not to mention the invisible depreciation caused by scratches, engine wear, or mechanical faults. These expenses only increase over time, while the resale value diminishes. If you're holding on to a vehicle worth over $50,000 but only using it for city driving, it's time to ask yourself, is it truly serving your life, or is it just an invisible financial burden? The deeper benefit of selling depreciating assets is freeing up substantial capital to invest in more important priorities. For example, high-quality health insurance, an essential component in retirement when healthcare costs in the U.S. keep rising. Beyond that, instead of funneling money into maintaining luxury assets, you could reallocate funds toward more meaningful experiences, quality family vacations, personal development courses, or long-term philanthropic activities. A common mindset is to hold on to luxury possessions because they're the fruits of a lifetime's work, or they still work fine, so it's a shame to sell. However, when entering a financial transition phase, you must shift your perspective. It's not about holding on as long as possible, but holding on to what delivers the most tangible value for your future. Luxury cars, yachts, and expensive possessions, no matter how beautiful or pride-inducing, cannot pay hospital bills or sustain your cash flow during volatile markets. If you plan to sell your car, do so while it is still in good condition and before major repairs become necessary. This approach not only helps you secure a better selling price, but also avoids unpredictable costs that can be difficult to anticipate. Additionally, selling assets when market demand is high, for example at the start of summer for yachts, helps maximize recovery value. Over the long term, reducing ownership of depreciating assets leads to a simpler, lighter retirement life, financially and mentally. Instead of worrying about tire replacements, yacht air conditioning repairs, or additional insurance premiums, you'll have the time and money to focus on what truly matters. You can shift your capital into sustainable investments such as dividend ETFs, government bonds, or high-yield savings accounts, instruments that require no maintenance, carry no depreciation risk, and generate steady cash flow. Moreover, the minimalist lifestyle and financial optimization trend are increasingly popular among middle-aged Americans. Many realize that financial freedom is not about owning more, but owning just enough and owning wisely. Holding on to depreciating assets not only drains your money, but also adds unnecessary mental burdens you could eliminate by acting early. Luxury cars and depreciating assets, once symbols of success and hard work, can now become obstacles on your path to a secure and fulfilling retirement. By selling early, locking in gains, and reducing financial burdens, you'll free up opportunities to direct your money toward more meaningful goals. Remember, good investing isn't about holding forever. It's about knowing when to let go to begin a stronger new chapter. 4. High-risk assets like cryptocurrency and meme stocks. As you reach middle age, especially from your 40s and 50s onward, you begin to view your financial picture with a different lens, more realistic, cautious, and focused on long-term security. At this stage, the right decision is no longer just about maximizing returns, but protecting capital, maintaining steady cash flow, and avoiding unnecessary risks. In this context, one crucial task is to reassess your investment portfolio, particularly high-risk assets like cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, meme stocks, GameStop, AMC, or other speculative investments. In recent years, there's no denying that cryptocurrencies and meme stocks have sparked investment frenzies, attracting millions chasing the dream of overnight fortunes. With returns sometimes skyrocketing by hundreds or even thousands of percent in a short time, these assets are incredibly volatile and equally tempting. However, this volatility makes them difficult to manage and prone to bubble cycles, crashes that occur especially when markets are impacted by macroeconomic factors like interest rates, inflation, or global monetary policies. When you are young, taking on higher risk makes sense because you have time to recover from losses. But once you enter retirement planning, time is no longer your ally. Any financial shock in your 50s or 60s can severely impact your ability to maintain your quality of life after leaving full-time work. That's why selling high-risk assets while they are still profitable is a wise strategy. No one can perfectly time the market, but locking in profits early, especially when the market is sideways or unstable, protects what you've earned. Remember, gains only truly belong to you when you cash out. Holding on in hope of further rises often leads to total losses if the market turns. Another major benefit of exiting assets like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, or trendy stocks is relieving financial psychological pressure. Many investors, both amateurs and seasoned, have suffered sleepless nights, anxiety, or inability to make objective decisions because their portfolios swung wildly within hours or days. The fear of missing out, FOMO, or the hope to break even, loss aversion, traps many in emotional cycles instead of strategic, long-term financial actions. At retirement age, financial stability is paramount. Moving funds from risky assets to safer channels like dividend ETFs, government bonds, or high-yield savings accounts helps maintain steady, less volatile, and more manageable cash flow. More importantly, it protects your principal, a critical factor when you no longer have active employment income. It's also worth noting that even financial experts recommend reducing the proportion of risky assets as you age. At 30, you might invest 70% in growth assets and 30% in stable ones. By 55, those ratios should reverse. Holding a portfolio that's too hot, close to retirement, is like driving a sports car at full speed when your fuel is nearly empty, a recipe for disaster with no time to recover. Another often overlooked point by middle-aged investors is taxes on investment gains. Selling profitable high-risk assets while still earning income allows better tax management. This can help you avoid unexpected high tax bills if gains accumulate and you're forced to sell during a market downturn. Additionally, we cannot ignore that cryptocurrencies and meme stocks lack the legal protections that traditional assets enjoy. Risks of hacks, scams, platform bankruptcies, or regulatory changes can wipe out your holdings overnight. Once you've accumulated a certain level of wealth, keeping money in unsafe places is akin to gambling with your family's financial future. In summary, at middle age, what you need most is not sky-high returns, but stability, safety, and predictability. High-risk assets like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and meme stocks may have been opportunities in the past. But as retirement nears, they become potential threats to your lifetime savings. Selling early, preserving capital, and shifting towards stable income-generating assets is the smart strategy for financial freedom and peace of mind in retirement. Act while you still have control, rather than letting risks decide your fate. 5. Small businesses that no longer generate profit or are difficult to transfer. In midlife, especially after 50, many Americans have poured decades of passion and effort into a small business. It might be a retail store, a family restaurant, or a local service provider. It's not just a source of income, it's a symbol of hard work, a deeply personal pride. But as retirement planning begins, a crucial question emerges. Is this business still truly profitable and worth holding on to, or has the time come to let go? Many small businesses today, especially traditional models, struggle amid rapid technological changes, shifting consumer habits, and rising operating costs. A store that thrived 10 years ago may now be fighting just to cover rent, facing stiff competition from e-commerce or big box chains. On top of that, not everyone has an heir willing to take over. Children often choose different paths instead of continuing the family business. With these warning signs, continuing to maintain an unprofitable small business can become a burden rather than an asset. Selling the business while it still holds value is a wise choice. Even if it doesn't fetch the price you hoped for, an early sale spares you from invisible expenses like maintenance, employee wages, taxes, and the time and energy required to run it. The clearest advantage of selling a failing business is freeing yourself from operational stress. At an age when health should be prioritized and personal time cherished, bearing the responsibility of a loss-making business can seriously affect your quality of life and mental well-being. Moreover, in many cases, the longer the business drags on, the more it loses value, especially when the financial records no longer appeal to buyers or when key personnel have left. Deciding to stop and sell your business is not giving up. It's a strategic financial shift into a new phase, a phase of more peaceful and freer retirement. The proceeds from selling the business can be reinvested into more stable, passive income streams like dividend ETFs, retirement accounts, Roth IRA, 401k, or high-quality corporate bonds. This transition from earning money to making money work for you is a crucial step in preserving your retirement assets. Furthermore, selling early helps you avoid hidden costs and missed opportunities. The time spent maintaining an ineffective business could be better invested in learning new skills, improving health, or embarking on more meaningful pursuits in retirement. Many who escape the cycle of business management find themselves with renewed energy to truly live, not just survive. Another significant benefit is psychological relief. When a business no longer turns a profit, it can easily become a mental burden, a repository for unfulfilled expectations and responsibilities no one shares. Holding on to a failing asset for sentimental reasons often delays necessary decisions. Conversely, a timely, decisive choice brings relief, freedom, and a renewed sense of control over your life. In a fluctuating economy, with rising living costs post-pandemic and inflation affecting everything from healthcare to housing, optimizing personal assets is essential. A business that no longer generates steady cash flow drags down the overall efficiency of your retirement portfolio, not just due to maintenance costs, but also legal risks, financial liabilities, and transfer hurdles if held on for too long. Additionally, selling the business can minimize legal and tax risks, especially if it operates under your personal name or shared ownership with family members. Even if you step away from daily management, mistakes can still hold you accountable if the transfer procedures aren't fully completed. In summary, at a stage in life when you deserve ease and freedom, clinging to a small, unprofitable business is not only a financial misstep, but also a barrier to a quality retirement. Selling your business now is not the end, but a new beginning, one without the chains of management responsibilities, sleepless nights over bookkeeping, or the monthly pressure of revenue and expenses. If you find this content helpful, please like, subscribe, and share the video so more people can prepare financially for a stronger future. What about you? Which types of assets do you currently hold? Leave a comment below. I'm always ready to listen and respond. Taking control of your assets today gives you a future of retirement that is free, fulfilling, and worry-free.